not going lie, baby. All right, as I say, it's not ESPN 30 for 30, but this is my New York Giants 98 for 98. 98 seasons in 98 days. What I'm trying to do is pretty much cover all 98 seasons of the New York Football Giants before. Pretty much, I'm going to try to get it done before the beginning of the new year. So I should have that done by then. But so we're up to season 6. Now, we're forging ahead. We've gotten into the 1930s. The 1930 season was the 6th season in history of the New York Football Giants. It was also the 11th season in the history of the NFL. NFL started in 1920. Giants started in 1925. So the NFL is 5 seasons, older, I guess you say, than the Giants are. This was another the 29 season. If you like the missing rings or lost championships or whatever. 1929 was one of those seasons the Giants, had their chance. They had played one game against the Green Bay Packers. Basically, whoever wound up winning that game wound up winning the championship, and the Packers wound up winning that game. It was 20-6. The Giants, had their chances in that game. They missed an extra point. The Packers pulled off a fake punt. Benny Freeman threw an interception. The Giants got down to the Packers 10. Benny Freeman threw an interception. Benny Freeman also threw another interception in the fourth quarter, I believe, which gave Packers the ball deep in the Giants' territory, and they scored a touchdown and put the game away. So the Giants had their chance. But this season here, 1930, extra points did the Giants in. A couple games with the Packers, and the Packers, because the Packers wound up winning the championship, but couple extra points. One extra point could have gone the Giants' way. The Giants would have won another championship. Missing rings, the 1930 season. All right, let's get her done. So we got 1930 season. Was the 11th regular season in the National Football League. Prior to the season, the Brooklyn bootlegger Bill Dwyer bought the Dayton Triangles, moved them, brought on former Orange Tornado star Jack Depler as a partner, and renamed them the Brooklyn Dodgers. With this move, the league was able to keep the final franchise from the Ohio League alive, albeit in a new location and with more skilled players, as it was unfeasible for the players in Dayton to move to Brooklyn during the Great Depression. The remains of the Tornadoes, with much of their roster now playing in the relocated Triangles Dodgers franchise, moved to Newark. Portsmouth Spartans, now known as the Detroit Lions, joined the league, while the Buffalo Bisons and the Boston Bulldogs both folded. The Green Bay Packers were named the NFL champions for the second consecutive season after they finished the season with the best overall winning percentage. Okay, once again, they were in first place. The Giants were in the second place for the second consecutive season. All right. The teams they had were the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Chicago Bears. They had 11 teams every season since 1925. There's a different amount of teams. 1920, 25, there was 20 teams. Then it went to 25 teams. Then it went to 12 teams. Then it went down to 10 teams. Then it went up to 12 teams. Now we're down to 11 teams. Every year there was a different amount of teams. Different teams, different amount of teams. It was just simply crazy. There was Chicago Cardinals. There was the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets, the Green Bay Packers, Minneapolis Red Jackets, which was their last active season, the New York Giants, the Newark Tornadoes, which was their last active season, the Portsmouth Spartans, which was their first season in the NFL, and they eventually became the Detroit Lions, the Providence Steamroller, the Staten Island Stapleton. So you got they got the Cardinals, the Bears, the Packers, and the Giants were the first 4 teams. The Cardinals are the oldest team in the NFL, but the 5th oldest team is the Detroit Lions. Let's see. They said the Packers won. They were 10-3-1. The Giants were 13-4-0. So if the Giants, okay, because the Giants had more wins than the Packers. If there's a couple of games in there I'm going to go over, if the Giants had just tied, if they missed extra points, they would have been like 13-3-1. They would have had a better winning percentage than the Green Bay Packers, and the Giants would have won the championship. Where there was a couple games where the Green Bay Packers, okay, they were 10-3-1. The Green Bay Packers, they beat the Chicago Bears, okay, on November 9th, 13-12. The Chicago Bears missed 2 extra points. They had 2 extra points. They missed them both. They made one of those extra points, okay. They made one of them, okay. The where we at here? Oh, I'm at the wrong one here. Yeah, I said if the Bears made one of their extra points, the Packers would have had one less victory, okay, and therefore the Giants would have won the championship, right? Because the Packers would have been 9-3-2. Because the Giants lost by 0.004%. So if the Packers tied one more game, the Giants would have won the championship. Let's see, there's another one here. Okay, the Portsmouth Spartans in the final game of the season. Okay, the final game of the season. The Green Bay Packers and the Portsmouth Spartans both tied 6-6. Okay, let me check. I believe it was a missed extra point here too. Actually, both teams missed extra points. Okay, the Packers missed theirs, but in the second quarter, Chuck Bennett of the Portsmouth Spartans, Chuck Bennett ran an 8-yard rush in to tie the game at 6. They missed the extra point. If the Portsmouth Spartans kicked their extra point, that would have gave the Green Bay Packers an additional loss. There was 4 ways, at least 4 ways here, the Giants could have won the division, the championship. It was all by missed points, missed extra points. And there was 2 games that the Giants missed their extra points against the Staten Isle Stapletons and the Brooklyn Dodgers. They lost 2 games 7-6. They made their extra points. They wouldn't have lost. They would have tied. They would have won. There was 4 games due to missed extra points. Okay, the Giants, if one of those games went the Giants' way, the Giants would have won. So this would have won the NFL championship in 1930. So this was truly, truly missing ring season for the New York Football Giants. They said the Giants, were in second place, 13-4-0. The Green Bay Packers were 10-3-1. The Green Bay Packers won because their winning percentage was .769. The Giants' winning percentage was .765. If the Giants played one more game, I believe, and would have won, and they would have went 14-4-0, they would have been winning. So this is one of those seasons, okay. Truly, that the Giants, extra points, okay, came back and really, really, really got him. Now this is an article here, okay. It's called I believe it's called, is it called The Missing Rings? The Missing Rings, the 1930 New York Football Giants. Okay. This also kind of goes to show you here. How things were back then, how the college game and the pro game were just totally different. Boxing, professional baseball, and college football were huge. The professional football was had not taken a real good hold yet. Okay. Said here, the New York University and Fordham football games. Okay. Figure that one out. New York University and Fordham football games. Their contests guaranteed full houses at the close of the decade, meaning the end of the 20s. With crowds of 50,000 and 60,000 packing the Polo Grounds, respectively, in 28 and 29. The 1930 game was moved to Yankee Stadium, where 78,500 people purchased every ticket to watch New York University play Fordham in college football in 1930. Okay. 78,500 people. I mean, back in the back then, the Giants could get like crowds of like maybe 10,000, maybe 15,000. I said it was not uncommon in the 20s for the Giants to play a home game in front of crowds in the low 10,000s. Okay. Basically the day after a college game that featured a capacity crowd in the same building. So the day before on a Saturday, the Polo Grounds would have a capacity crowd. The next day, the Giants are playing at home, playing in front of like 12,000 people. So, I mean, that was one of the biggest problems back then was keeping clubs financially afloat, right? Because they just couldn't afford it. You got nobody coming in there to see your guys play. You can't pay your players. You can't keep your team, right? So you had to fold. So that just goes to show you, I mean, how huge college football was back then. New York University playing against Fordham, 78,500 people purchased every ticket at the Yankee Stadium, 78,500 people. Meanwhile, the Giants are playing in front of like 10,000 people, right? Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right. It's just, as I said, just one of those shames this season. Let's see. The Giants new on their roster was end Morris Red Badgerow, All-Pro and All-Pro, and Ray Flaherty left the Giants to but All-Pro and Ray Flaherty left the Giants to coach Gonzaga. But Badgerow stepped in and performed just as well as his predecessor. Now the Giants also had in 1930, Leroy Andrews was their coach. Benny Friedman, Leroy Andrews left, and Benny Friedman was the coach for the final 2 or 3 games of the season. Okay. But for most of the season, Leroy Andrews was the head coach. Okay. The 1930 New York Football Giants were a competent team heading into the early part of their season, which as usual was string of road games, as they waited for the New York Baseball Giants, to conclude their season at the to vacate the Polo Grounds, because the New York Football Giants and the New York Baseball Giants both played at the Polo Grounds. All right. Let's see. Good old Benny Friedman, tackle Steve Owen, and halfback Jack Haggerty picked up where they left off the year before and dominated the Newark Tornadoes and Providence Steamroller by an aggregate tally of 59-7. Okay. The first 2 games, the Giants beat the Newark Tornadoes 32-0 and 27-7. Now the Giants left off just right where they picked up. I mean, their scoring was phenomenal. They scored over 300 points in 1929. They scored over 300 points in 1930. Their offense was incredible, absolutely incredible. Right? Just once again, Green Bay Packers. All right. Let's see. In between, the Giants also played a Thursday night exhibition contest against the Long Island Bulldogs in Brooklyn. New York's resolve was quickly put to the test in the following week on a visit to the reigning champion Green Bay Packers. The Packers also brought back much of their 1929 roster, which won the championship. Okay. In 1929, the Packers had a good offense. Their defense was phenomenal. The defense only gave up 22 points all season long. They gave up 3 touchdowns and 2 safeties. So let's see here. Tackle Cal Hubbard, guard Mike Michalski, and Johnny Blood McNally, who wrought havoc on the Giants in their pivotal game in 1929, were back and as good as ever. A newcomer brought an enticing dimension with him, tailback Arnie Herber. While playing a limited time behind Bernie Llewellyn, showed promise with a strong and accurate passing arm. City Stadium, okay, when the Giants, let's see here. I want to get the date here. Okay, they played the Packers. Okay, it was on, and actually later on in the season, the Giants played the Packers again and wound up beating the Packers. But on October 5th, okay, at City Stadium, the Giants played the Packers. Okay, would become a pivotal game in this season. Okay, both defenses reigned firm control on the contest throughout the third quarter. With there was a 7-7 tie. Okay, at halftime, it was broken in the final period when McAnally received a short pass from Red Dunn and raced 55 yards for the touchdown, an eventual 14-7 Packers victory. Again, New York had played the Packers tough, but came up just short, as they had the year before. They lost 20-6 to the Packers the year before, but they played them tough. The Packers seemed to have a knack for spurning the Giants by making a big play late precisely when they needed it, which is the same thing that happened in the 1929 contest. The Packers had made a couple big plays. They had a fake punt. They intercepted a pass, which led to a touchdown. Not directly to a touchdown, but they drove the ball and they scored a touchdown and put the game away. So after the Giants, after they lost, okay, to the Green Bay Packers, they were 2-1. Okay, still a lot of games, long season left to go. Okay, next stop on the road trip provided another familiar opponent against the always formidable Chicago Bears, who had recently undergone a significant change in their on-field leadership. George Halas and Edward Dutch Sterneman, who co-owned the Bears, had also served as co-coaches for the franchise's first 9 seasons. Both men were opinionated and strong-willed, which often led to confrontations. So during the offseason, the two founders decided the best path for all involved would be to step back and find someone new to coach the Bears while they were both focused on business aspect of running the team. They settled on Ralph Jones, who was a successful collegiate coach at Purdue and Illinois. Okay. Just over 12,000 fans showed up for the Bears home opener at Wrigley Field. Like the Giants, the Chicago football team opened their season on the road while they awaited their shared stadium to become available after the conclusion of the baseball season. Okay. First quarter featured a scoreless 15 minutes. This is between the Giants and the Bears. Okay. Where New York wasted long advances with lost fumbles in Chicago territory. With the Giants finally securing a firm grip on the ball, they took over the game quickly. They erupted for 2 touchdowns in the first 6 minutes of the second quarter, sparked by an intercepted pass. Okay. Let's see. Benny Friedman directed a 47-yard scoring drive over 10 plays. 8 advances were rushes, including 3 by Freeman, totaling 19 yards. The star tailback was 1 for 2 passing, with the completion being good for 10 yards. Okay. Apparently satisfied with the 12-0 lead, Friedman retired to the sidelines for most of the afternoon while Jack Haggerty assumed the helm, attempting to, placate the patrons who called out to see Friedman launch aerials. Head coach Leroy Andrews reinserted Friedman in a quasi-curtain call, and he finished the day a modest 3 for 5 for 33 yards because Benny Friedman used to just throw the ball a lot. Okay. The Giants defense handed Jones' new version of the T formation with little trouble. They handled it, having allowed just 6 first downs and not letting Chicago reach the New York Giants' 20-yard line. Okay. So the Giants in their 4th game, prevailed 12-0 over the Bears. The next game was against the Chicago Cardinals. All right. The Giants home opener, came on a short week as they had a Thursday game scheduled against Chicago's other team, the Cardinals, featured a genuine triple threat in Ernie Nevers, a player who could run, catch, punt, and drop kick with equal effectiveness while also playing rock-solid defense. A crowd of 15,000, which included former Governor Al Smith, watched the Giants perform in the clutch with big plays and a come-from-behind win. All of New York's scoring occurred in the final 5 minutes of both halves. Wow. So the Giants wound up winning that one 25. They beat the Cardinals 25-12. Okay. And let's see, there was no opportunity to rest. 72 hours later, the Giants would host Frankfurt for their third game in 8 days. Okay, so you think this Giants got tough schedules nowadays? They're playing 3 games in 8 days. All right. As it was their custom, however, the Yellow Jackets arrived at the Polo Grounds having played a home game on Saturday because Frankfurt didn't play home games on Sunday. So Frankfurt played their home game on Saturday. So here, Frankfurt played a home game on Saturday. The following day, they played the Giants on Sunday. All right. Talk about a tough schedule. Okay. So this one this one was a massacre. Okay. Let's see. 4 of the Giants' team record 8 touchdowns came from the arm of Friedman, and the Giants topped the 50-point mark for the first time in franchise history. Okay, the other scores came from 2 rushes, an interception return, and a 5th touchdown pass from Hap Morin, which had commenced the parade. The Giants went 53-0. Okay, again, the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets, poor guys, they played back-to-back games, back-to-back days. So, okay, said the Giants' previous high mark for points in the game was 45-3 win at the Buffalo Bisons in 1929. An unofficial milestone was reached in this 53-0 win as well. Unofficial, though. Okay, they got to mark that down. Unofficial, but quite possibly the first 300-yard passing game ever. New York Giants, Benny Friedman. Unofficial, though. Okay, I'll read on. An unofficial milestone was reached in his 53 win as well. Friedman was the first known player to accumulate 300 yards passing in a game. Newspaper accounts credit him for 18 completions and 23 attempts for 310 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. However, NFL statistical records were not officially recorded until 1932, however, so the performance is mostly overlooked in historical chronicles. But quite possibly, the first ever 300-yard game, Benny Friedman. Okay, after a full week off, the Giants went back to the 3 games in 8 days grind. Holy cow, the defense was up to the challenge. And New York defeated Providence on Sunday, Newark on Wednesday night, and Staten Island on the following Sunday by an aggregate of 68-14 at the Polo Grounds. So, I mean, the Giants were just churning away here. Okay, they were. I guess they were up there after those 3 wins. They were 8-1. Okay, 8-1. They were just churning away wins, looking good. Okay. The game against the Stapletons was actually a formidable challenge as the Giants escaped. They come from behind 9-7 win with the foot of Friedman, who was good on a 42-yard placement field goal with under 1 minute left on the clock. So, at 2 games in 4 days road trip saw Friedman rush and pass New York to a 19-6 win at Portsmouth on Wednesday night before a Sunday afternoon rematch with the Cardinals at Comiskey Park. A small crowd of only 4,000 attended because across the town in Wrigley Field, the Bears tangled with Green Bay Packers in a crucial contest. It was very crucial. That drew 22,000 spectators. Both Chicago teams lost. The Bears lost 13-12 because they missed 2 extra points. Had the Chicago Bears made one of those 2 extra points against Green Bay Packers, they would have tied that game. That would have gave the Giants the championship. Okay. And the Giants beat the Cardinals 13-7, setting up a stretch run for the first place between the 10-1 Giants and the 8-0 Packers. Most surprisingly for the fans of Comiskey Park was that their hero of the day was neither Friedman nor Ernie Nevers. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so the Giants, they were chugging away. Okay, they were actually after the Chicago Cardinals. Okay, they were 10-1. Okay, it's only like a game behind the Packers. The Packers were undefeated. The Giants were 10-1. Okay. But on November 16th, the day the Giants lost 12-0 to the Packers in a miserable cold rain and wind at the Polo Grounds. The big news was college star Chris Cagle was to be released from his coaching contract in Mississippi and A&M to play for the Giants. Okay, Cagle had been a star performer for West Point before losing his amateur eligibility when it was discovered he had been married. Wow, go figure that stuff out, huh? Go figure that out, all right? However, good news arrived for the Giants from out of the town, however. The Packers were upset by the Cardinals at Comiskey Park 13-6, giving the Giants a chance to vault past Green Bay as the Packers came to New York the next week. So the Giants lost and the Packers lost. So the Giants had 2 losses, but the Packers had 1. All right, here we go. The rematch. Pro Football generated some buzz during the week leading up to the game. The contest was billed as a de facto league championship match. The New York Times even made mention of former Giant Cal Hubbard returning to face his old team with his new star Cagle. The public bought into the hype, and over 40,000 fans gave the Giants their largest home attendance mark since Red Grange's visit in 1925. All right. Let's see. Okay, the Giants were up 7-0 in the third quarter. Moran set up New York's second touchdown with a rush out of a punt formation, and the Giants pinned deep at their end of the field. Moran ran around right end, then cut up the center of the field. 2 blockers kept pace with Moran, who evaded McAnally twice as he traversed up the field until the Green Bay 10-yard line. Let's see. Laverne Dilfer, who had been deep to receive the presumed punt, made a flying tackle of Moran 1 yard short of the end zone. This was a 91-yard carry and remained a franchise record until 2005. All right, the longest punt return. 3 consecutive plunges left the ball about a foot away from pay dirt when Freeman followed behind the left guard for the touchdown. Freeman's point after placement was blocked, and New York led 13-0. Okay. Green Bay Packers fought back, and they scored a touchdown. The Giants led 13-6. Okay. Green Bay made one lengthy, exhausted advance in an attempt to tie the game in the final period. They overcame a holding call at midfield, a 15-yard penalty, and moved the chains 5 times until the ball reached the New York 5-yard line. They ran the ball twice for a yard, and then they ran the ball another time for a 2-yard advance. The thrilled Polo Grounds crowd was caught up in the tension-packed goal line stand and on their field exhorting the defense. Before the ball was snapped, several players on both sides of the line jumped early. The players held their positions once the ball was reset. On the snap, Dunn handed the ball to McCrary, who was stoned by the center of the New York Giants front wall as the Polo Grounds faithful roared with approval, going crazy. Right? Goal line stand. There you go. Neither team threatened to score again. The Giants, 13-7, moved them to 11-2, ahead of the 9-2 Packers because it was the winning percentage. Giants had 11 wins. Packers had 9. They were 11-2 to 9-2. The Giants were in first place because their winning percentage. Okay. So the Giants were 11-2. However, okay, what did them in was the next 2 games. I gotta find them here. It's a long, lengthy article here. Okay. The following week, okay, after the Giants beat the Packers, okay, they played the Staten Island Stapletons on the road in Staten Island. Okay, so nothing big. Let's see here. The game was a physical altercation where both teams earned every inch of ground they were able to muster. Wilson was part of the Stapleton starting 11 and the leading ground gainer on the day, but his biggest impact was felt on defense. He repeatedly fought through blocks and dropped Freeman and Cagle in the backfield for losses and frustrated New York's typically potent offense. The first score of the game came with just under 1 minute to play in the second quarter. Campbell blocked Strong's punt at the Staten Island 20-yard line and recovered the loose ball in the end zone himself. The hold for the point after try was mishandled. and Friedman's pass for Moran in the end zone was defended. The Giants had extra point. The extra point the snap was mishandled. I guess Friedman got up and tried to pass the ball, but it was defended in the end zone. Missed extra point, cost the Giants the title. The Giants only led 6-0. Okay. Then in the second half, okay, the Stapletons took the ball over for the score on a second down, and Strong's placement was good and gave the Stapletons a 7-6 lead in front of the raucous crowd. The struggle continued well into the fourth quarter. New York lost its captain Friedman to a leg injury. Okay. But the Giants were able to mount a last-minute desperation drive despite his absence. Cagle completed 2 passes to Moran, giving the Giants a first and goal on the 5-yard line, but failed to score after 3 plunges and missed a placement field goal attempt. They missed a field goal attempt. Why? Well, also because Benny Friedman was their field goal kicker. He was hurt. So they missed a field goal attempt from the 5-yard line. Okay. The loss cost the Giants more than their services of Friedman. Their stay atop the standings was also too brief as Green Bay routed the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets 25-7, and the Packers regained. So the Giants missed a field goal and an extra point. If they made the field goal or the extra point, the Giants would have won the championship. Right? Let's see here. Then, of course, this also won here against the Brooklyn Dodgers. They played the Brooklyn Dodgers at home on November 30th. Okay, this one officially pretty much kind of did them in. And a crowd of 25,000 was not restricted to just fans of the home team, hoping the Giants would keep pace with Green Bay. Many fans came over from the bridges from Brooklyn to support their team as well. New York significantly outplayed the Dodgers in the first half, but only had 6 points to show for it. And again, the lone score was the result of Campbell recovering a block punt. Okay. This time, Campbell blocked Jim Mooney's punt at Brooklyn's 45-yard line, scooped the loose ball up, evaded Mooney, and rambled the distance uncontested into the end zone. But they missed the extra point. In the second half, Brooklyn's offense began to find seams in the Giants' front. Stumpy Thomason ran for several long gains and also cleared the path for McBride between the tackles. McBride ultimately doomed his former team in the fourth quarter on a 37-yard rush that set up his 2-yard plunge for the tying score. His point after placement gave Brooklyn a 7-6 edge that held up as the final score. Green Bay annihilated that same day. Green Bay annihilated the Staten Island Stapletons 37-7, 2 boroughs away. Okay. And rumors of a player revolt surfaced the day after the game, and Andrews was abruptly. Okay. This is how it happened. Okay. It finally makes sense to me. Leroy Andrews was the coach. This is why the final 2 games of the season, okay, Benny Friedman was the coach. All right, here we go. Rumors of a player revolt surfaced the day after the game where the Giants lost 7-6, and Leroy Andrews was abruptly dismissed as head coach. That's why Benny Friedman was the coach for the New York Giants in the final 2 games of the 1930 season. So, let's see. Then we got, although the 11-4 Giants, it's still a mathematical chance to catch the Packers. It was unrealistic as their hopes were, just very unrealistic. So, I mean, the Packers' record of 10-3-1 gave them a winning percentage of .769 because of the tie of Portsmouth was excluded from the record. The 10 wins were divided by 13 total games. Okay, it was not until 1972 when the NFL changed the parameters and treated a tie game as half a win and half a loss. Okay, so now when the calculations is applied retroactively to the 1930 Packers record, their winning percentage would have been .750, which dropped them to second place behind the Giants' winning percentage of .765. But back in the day, the ties didn't count. So the Green Bay Packers, okay, with their 10-3-1 record, had a winning percentage of 769. The Giants were 13-4, winning percentage of 765. Unbelievable. So by .004, okay, the New York Giants lost the 1930 NFL Championship. Truly a missing ring season, a lost championship, whatever you want to call it. There was like four different games. If an extra point went one way or the other, or a field goal or something, the Giants would have won. They missed. They lost 2 games, 7-6. The one game the Packers won, they beat the Bears 13-12. Okay, the Bears missed both their extra points. So it was the Giants. Let's see that. Okay, and then it was the final game of the season. Okay, so there was 2 games played by the Packers and 2 games played by the Giants, which wound up costing the Giants the championship. I mean, it is what it is. You give the credit to the Packers. You know, they won. All right, but the Packers beat the Bears 13-12. Okay, had the Bears made either one of their extra points, Giants would have won the championship. The final game of the season, the Packers tied the Portsmouth Spartans. I always have a hard time saying that. They tied them 6-6. Had the Portsmouth Spartans made their extra point, the Giants would have won. The Giants lost 2 games, 7-6. Had they made either one of them, the Giants would have won the NFL championship. Truly a missing ring season. The Giants, I mean, you know, good, exciting time for the Giants. 1929, the Giants almost won. 1930, they almost won. You know, so we got from 1920. Actually, you go back to 27. The Giants won their first championship in 1927. So you go from 1927 to 1946. It's like about 20 years there, right? Good, exciting Giants football. So now we're heading into the 30s. A lot more championship games. The Giants go to 5 championship games in the 30s, okay? The championship games didn't start till 1933, though, okay? So when I come back, next video I do tomorrow will be 1931 season, okay? So we're still a couple years away from the championship games, but a lot of good football ahead for the New York Football Giants. So once again, the 1930 season was a huge success for the New York Giants. Came up just a little bit short. If they had a little bit of luck, a little more better luck on their side or whatever, the New York Football Giants would have won the 1930 NFL championship. But they came up 0.004 percentage points short of winning. Because if they were tied, both teams would have been declared the winner, the champions. If they had the same winning percentage, they both would have been declared the champions. But it was not meant to be. So I'll be back again tomorrow with the 1931 New York Giants football season, which just happened to be the 7th season in the history of the New York Football Giants. We'll see you then.